Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Danny the Lion's Den channel. I wanted to just start off by saying thank you so much for being a part of this channel. If this is your first time, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe because we do a lot of amazing things here on this channel. Now, I do need to apologize to those of you who have already been subscribed to the channel. You've been with me since I started this whole thing back in 2018. Some of you have really seen the progression over time of this channel. And so I wanted to share just a few things going on in my personal life as to why I haven't been able to be as consistent with this channel and hopefully look to the future for some new and amazing things. Well, first I need to say, life has taken quite a few turns over the last 6 years that I definitely wasn't expecting when I first started really digging into this channel and the content of this channel. And some of you may have been able to also notice that over time, channels like this one have been getting taken down, especially during the C19 purge of information. So I had to be really careful during that time because I already had a couple of warnings on this channel, and if you get so many, they'll permanently remove it. So I had to be a little bit careful with that. But also during that time, some of you may know part of my story is that I, lost my career job. I was a teacher in New York City, and I lost my job as a result of not complying with mandates. Now, no matter how you feel about that, I know those of you who are on this channel, you understand, and so that's why you're here. But because of that, I had to really figure out a way to still be able to provide for my family. Since starting this channel, I've been married. I have the wonderful blessing of having two children. So there's a lot that has gone on. And I have been very focused on my business. Now, God has given me the opportunity to launch a business that I'm able to take my skills, what I was doing as a teacher, and help people to write, self-publish, and market their books. So I've gotten into this sort of space of doing business and helping people to turn their painful experiences into powerful stories. And so that has been a big part of where my time and attention has gone. Of course, being a mom and a wife and all the other things. Now, another part of that I've been able to do is really help people to launch their businesses as well. And so, that way we don't end up in the same situation like what happened to me, during the mandates. Who's to say something like that won't happen in the future? So I've been able to help, and I specifically love working with God's people in this to help them to create the freedom and the lifestyle that they want. And so all that's to say that and help them, to launch online businesses. But all that is to say that during this time, I have not had the time to really give the value that I want to give to this channel and to serve you in the way that I want to. A lot of this channel is not monetized. That I, don't ask for any kind of donations or anything like that. I really see this as ministry. It is something that I'm praying into, to make it available. If I'm going to come back to this in a more consistent way and take time away from the business and my family, I need to make sure, that I'm able to still serve you all, but also still provide for the means in my house as well. So I just wanted to tell you kind of where I've been, what has been going on. But there are so many things that I'm seeing happen in the world, and I know that God has given me this channel and I am to serve you all. And so I wanted to just put that out there so that you understand why I haven't been able to be as consistent with it, but know that I'm still here and I am in prayer and working this out with the Lord about how I can distribute my time, but also still be able to get the resources that I need to be able to help my family and to sustain, what we're doing. So all things that I would ask you to continue to pray with me for. And one of the things that he's drawing me back to is this channel to be able to serve you, because I do see this as a ministry in a lot of ways, in the capacity of ministry. So I do want to be more consistent with it. I'm in the process of working that out. So thank you for all of you who have been, just with me through this and patient. And, my goal really is to grow this channel. And I know that I'm kind of some of the last ones out there that a lot of these channels are getting taken down. There's a lot of things that are happening. And I know that there's some of us that are still here. I'm still kind of a smaller channel. So because of that, I think they sort of leave me alone. But we'll see. It's also very hard to grow because of that, right? When we talk about the algorithms and things of that nature. So your support is always appreciated. You sharing the videos helps a whole lot if you know people who benefit from it. Other things that I have in the works that I'm praying through is creating a community so we can stay connected, so we can talk about things that are going on. I've been needing that And I know that there are those of you out there who also need that as the events of this world continue to just grow and become as crazy as they are. You know, Jesus told us about these times. He told us that it was going to happen. So what I want to share with you today, I want to talk about things that were happening in New York City. There's underground tunnels, things about child SA. There's a lot of that we're going to talk about today, and aliens, right? Because aliens have been all over the news. And what does this mean for the end times? So if you're new to this channel, we focus a lot on end times prophecy. We focus on things that are going on in the world, current events, and how these have a biblical standpoint. There's other things we do in this channel as well. I've been gifted with apologetics. I have several books, actually, guys. I had a couple more books launched. I have another one coming out in April. So these are all things I'm going to keep you updated on, and we're going to talk through a lot of really good things. But yeah, so I'm so excited to just get into that. And yeah, let's just go. So I'm going to start out, and as you know, I usually just kind of share screen here, and I kind of go through all my tabs. And in the process of me doing this, now I don't play the videos because again, my channel, can easily be flagged or taken down, and I think that that's not beneficial for anybody. I want to be able to stay up here so I can serve you. So knowing that, I'm probably not going to play the videos, but I always link things down in the comment section so you can look at it, or in the description, you can go ahead and click in and do some extensive research on your own. But this came out, almost 2 weeks ago, and it was a video of let me see. Oh, they're going to hit me with an ad. It was a video of an organization. Now it's a Hasidic Jewish organization. Now, before I get into this video, I do want to say one thing. I understand that there are a lot of believers. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. I understand that there are a lot of believers who are very, very fond of Israel, very fond of that, right? Because we read certain things in the Bible. We sometimes want to blindly support Israel, blindly support some of these things. Now, I want to say this, and I want to be very clear. Nothing on this channel is spouting anti-Semitism at all. Okay. We are going to talk about, though, the truth, okay, of what the Bible says and what we see happening in the world. Okay, you have to understand that in every religion, every religious belief system, you're going to have people. God is constantly drawing people, right? There's stories of people who are seeing the face of Jesus in, a reflection in a pond, right? Or like in these crazy things that they're seeing in the Middle East. Maybe it's not a pond, but there's a lake. I don't know, but there are stories like this, right? Where Jesus is appearing to them. God's drawing people constantly, whether they're in the Hasidic Jewish community or whether they're, in their Muslim, doesn't matter. God is drawing people to himself because that's what he does. So I want to start by saying that there's nothing in here that I'm going to share that is anti-Semitic in nature. However, I think it's wrong to go into something with a mindset and blinders on, saying, oh, because this person is Jewish, I have to put on blinders and say, nothing that can be done is wrong. That is a complete lie from the enemy, and we need to take those off. So I'm still sensitive to what's going on in between, Israel and Palestine and all the things that are happening in the war over there. But I want us to just, for a moment, look at this with an open heart, understanding that mankind is corrupted, right? That we as human beings are corrupted, and that there are things within certain belief systems that are of the devil. Like, we have to be honest about that, okay? So I say all this to say, I'm going to get into the video now. So if you've seen this, there was a riot that broke out in New York City in a synagogue over a secret tunnel. Now, they had arrested a handful of Hasidic Jewish boys who, when they discovered this tunnel, they found a tunnel and they started this whole riot. They found a tunnel and they were literally standing in the tunnel. They were trying to protect whatever was happening in the tunnel, whatever could have been found, investigation. They were trying to do that, and it ended up not happening. They ended up just staying in the tunnel, and nothing ended up going forward. Now, that was obviously some sketchy behavior, right? Like, why are you so afraid of uncovering, what is going on in the tunnel? Now, apparently, the story is that the leaders of this group, the Chabad Lubavitch movement, we'll get into who that is in a minute, but the Chabad Lubavitch movement was very much connected with, what's going on here with these tunnels, okay? So they called apparently and said, hey, we discovered these tunnels and they need to be filled. Now, I don't fully buy that story for a lot of reasons, because you had to have known that these were here. And I'm going to get into in a bit how tunnels are not new. Okay. This is not just some new occurrence, a new thing that happened, that these things have existed for quite a while, actually. And that they're all over New York City, but we're going to get into that in a moment. So what you see here is the riot that broke out when the NYPD went in to see what was going on, to answer the call about these tunnels. Now they found them, and they said that the tunnels they found led to, these were like really intense tunnels, but led to another building that was the women's building or something like that. So yeah, so anyway, so as I was looking through this, they showed you some pictures. They also found in the walls that there were, yeah, it says not clear why they were built. Okay. They found mattresses that were the size of for children, child mattresses, and they were soiled. There was blood on some of them. They were soiled, but they found these child mattresses. Now, they also found some like high chairs and some other things. Now, I don't think it actually in the Telegraph here, I don't think they actually cover that piece. Yeah, they just focused on the walls only. But anyway, there's these secret tunnels. And so so the property's manager called in builders to fix the damaged walls. Now, what the narrative is, oh, we're worried about the infrastructure, if it can crumble or collapse and all this other stuff. Now, again, I'm not buying the reason, I'm not buying that, because what they ended up doing was they went in and they just, you see the people in here standing in there, like not letting you get in. And then they broke up the walls here, and they're not putting that in this part either, but it was in some of the other videos and things on this, that they found mattresses, soil mattresses, things like that. So, but anyway, so as you're looking at this, there's obviously something sketchy that's going on here. Now, I believe strongly that God reveals hidden things, and I think God is bringing some things to light as to what actually is going on. So one of the things that I will say, and I'm going to say without fear, truly, is that I believe, and I felt this very deeply in my heart, because there's things that we've been studying about. One of the books that we wrote, Creating Wealth for the Kingdom, Heal Your Relationship with Money and Fund the Mission of Christ. We recently launched that book in January 1st, actually, of 2024. Okay. And so one of the things that we did is we gave the proceeds of that book to an organization that fights child trafficking. Okay. So because of that, this has been really heavy on my heart. And so when I saw this, instantly I felt in my spirit that this is very much connected to, I believe, connected to child trafficking. Now, I say that again because this is being exposed. You have to understand that when we come into certain seasons, God exposes these things. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I know with certainty, all that stuff. But if you look at some of the pieces here, and you look at what their next steps were, they did not do a proper investigation at all. There was no proper investigation that was done. Okay, that is sketchy to begin with. So you don't do a proper investigation. The first thing that the city does in response is go to fill the hole, right? You go to fill up the tunnel with cement. What are you hiding? Why did you not take those mattresses and do some blood samples on them? Do some sampling. See, what did you find? Did you find semen? Like, what else did you find on those mattresses? That's my question. And why you rushed to cover up and everything. And this is just the typical response, right? Because we've seen this exposed, we've seen the Sound of Freedom, we've seen these other things. God is not going to allow children to be manipulated and hurt like this. There comes a level where where the elite and the Satanists and all the things that they're doing, okay, to move forward, to push forward. I'm sorry, Satanists, we can't say Luciferian, right? That they move forward in wanting to bring forward God's judgment. Okay, they want that. You have to understand that's something that they're wanting to bring, because they believe the destruction of this age, they believe, will bring in a new age where they will be revered as gods. So again, it's a lot of twisted theology, but you have to understand that. And so, but God is not going to allow anything done in darkness will be revealed by the light. So I believe strongly, again, what I'm saying is not anti-Semitic. What I'm saying is from what I'm seeing and what I believe is a very good possibility as to the use of these tunnels, especially the fact that it was connected to a women's mikvah, which is their ritual bath. And typically in these societies, The men and the women usually would be separated, especially women are more connected with children. There's a whole thing behind that. And I'm going to get into some of this in a moment. But anyway, you see here the standoff between the Chabad movement and the worshipers of the Chabad movement and the NYPD. Okay. And then you see things like this, right? Like this underground tunnel. They even found a secret entrance, okay, where this guy is crawling out of a grate in the floor. Like, what are you doing? 10 people were arrested and the synagogue's been closed pending safety review, is what they're saying. It's not safe. Okay. So that is one of the more mainstream news examples of that. Now, again, who is this guy? Like, what is the Chabad movement, Chabad Lubavitch? What does any of this mean? So this has to do with, a lot of this was founded and started by, I'm probably going to pronounce his name incorrectly, but Menachem M. Schneerson. Okay, so he was rabbi, or Rebbe is how they refer. Now, what I found very interesting about this and doing my research about this is that when he was in the United States, he actually lived at the top of this very building that they were referring to here, where they found the child mattresses and all those things. Now, this is the guy here, this guy Schneerson is the guy who started the entire movement. Now, a lot of people, there's a group of people within the movement who believed he was the Messiah. Now, you have to understand that for Jews, the Messiah doesn't necessarily mean that it's somebody who is of divine nature. It could just been a normal person who came to bring political freedom. So you have to understand those things about how they view who was the Messiah. So some people believed he was the Messiah. Now, a little bit about him. He was born in 1902, okay? And this movement, again, is very much connected with governments. It's very much connected with the education system. It goes very deep in these connections, which I don't have time to get into today. But just to show you, so the synagogue that he was a part of was 770 Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn. Now, I grew up in Brooklyn. Again, I'm speaking from growing up surrounded by this movement, surrounded by people that are part of the movement, and what I know from some people firsthand about the community. Okay, I want you to understand I'm speaking from that position because I grew up in that. I grew up in Brooklyn. Okay, I grew up around that. Knowing again people firsthand who are in these communities or in different levels, because there's Orthodox, there's a Hasidic, there's kind of levels to it as well when it comes to religion for them. Okay. Now his dynasty again was Chabad Lubavitch. This is what he became known for. It's an Orthodox Jewish Hasidic dynasty and one of the world's best known Hasidic movements. Okay. Now, he was very well known, and you can read it here, that Schneerson proved gifted in the Talmudic and Kabbalistic study, also took exams as an external student of the Soviet school. He was considered an Eloi and genius, and by the time he was 17, he'd mastered the entire Talmud. Okay, now, I am not a fan of the Talmud. Just like I'm not a fan of some other works where there's people that are telling you interpretations of things. I don't believe it's of God. It's the same thing with the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah for me is straight up witchcraft. And we're going to get into that and look at some adherents of Kabbalah and see where they are spiritually. But anyway, he's very well known for these two things. So what you see, and I'll give you an example. When I went to Israel, I very much saw that what they would push were these little red strings that people would wear. And this is part of Kabbalah. Okay, this is part of that Kabbalistic movement. And they would push that on you, push it. And it is witchcraft, guys. It is witchcraft. It is witchcraft. I'm going to say it again. It is witchcraft. It is mysticism. It is Gnostic. It is not of God. I need you to understand that. And this gentleman was responsible for bringing that into this community and really pushing that part of the movement. Now, again, the synagogue that he then actually lived in, he was known to have lived, I believe, on the top floor he moved in, was on 770 Eastern Parkway. 770 Eastern Parkway is the one that this is referring to. This is the very synagogue. Now, it's not just any synagogue, it was the headquarters. I need you to understand, 770 Eastern Parkway is the headquarters. If I click here, you can read it. It tells you the Hasidic Judaism, this is it. Okay, it was known as the global headquarters. Now, 770 or these numbers as well, I do believe are significant, and there's a thing with that as well, but I'm not going to get into that right now. Okay, but you need to understand right here, you can see it says Rabbi Rabbi Yosef Yitzhak Schneerson lived in the apartment on the second floor. So you can see that there's an apartment there. They lived there. It was, part of the connection there. Okay, but again, I need you to understand that these were the Chabad headquarters. This wasn't just any synagogue that had these secret tunnels and had all these things and these child mattresses. Like, you have to ask yourself truly what is going on. That is really, really something. Okay. So it's not the only one. There's other ones as well. And you can read up a little bit more about that. Okay. Now, all of this is to say that synagogues were not, sorry, not synagogues. Tunnels are not a new thing. Now, why I believe this has a really good connection to child trafficking is because there are tunnels all throughout New York, okay? And I believe other parts of the world as well. We'll get into that a little bit later. But when you talk about this idea of secret tunnels or there being secret tunnels, they 100% exist and they're right below your feet, whether you realize it or not. So you can actually watch this. When they first started this video, it says, that they were using it for certain, during prohibition and bootlegging and trying to, smuggle alcohol and all this other stuff. But if you already know that it was being used for those purposes, we can already bet that there's other illegal activities probably going on and other things that are being moved from one place to the next. Might I remind you that Epstein lived in Manhattan. Okay. He lived in Midtown, I think I would say probably like around Midtown Manhattan. So it would not be hard to transport someone from Brooklyn to Manhattan via tunnels. I need you to understand that. Okay. Again, one of the subway system that's there, this wouldn't be new. Now, they found these secret passageways. You can go watch this if you want. Again, it's the History Channel. We know that the History Channel is a half truth. They're going to put their narrative on it, but they're going to also show you, hey, these things are actually existing. And this came out, this says 9 months ago. So I don't know when exactly it actually aired, but it's just very interesting. And I would highly recommend they go to Chinatown. They talk about how it's connected from Manhattan into New Jersey, basically to smuggle and move things underground. So you can see some more examples, some photos here. And these are big. Like, it's not like some little thing. Like, these are huge. Okay, these are huge tunnels, and this goes all throughout New York City. So anyway, I showed this to you because I don't have time to get into all of it today, but these are things that you can research and go a little deeper in. Now, why do I believe this has a connection to that? Aside from the fact that, again, there are those governmental connections, but also let's talk about the fact of how SA is dealt with in Hasidic communities. Now, again, I'm not saying there are people who 100% are against it. They think it's wrong, it's not right, all of these things. Okay. Again, I want to say that. However, they are very known for underreporting. Why? There is a system that you can say in this community where they don't really rely on NYPD and they don't really rely on, the ambulance that anybody else does. They have their own system. They have their own way of doing things they've developed in their community. So what happens a lot of the times is they function in a similar way where if you are to report something like that to the Gentile authorities, you go to the cops or you go somewhere else, that you could very easily be sort of excommunicated within your community. You would be put down, you would be, put away, that you wouldn't be, that they would look on you in the wrong way. Now, it's very hard and it's very easy to then basically help a predator to continue being a predator. Okay, there's not a lot of actual responsibility. Now, the way that it's looked at in some cases under the law, right? When you look at the Torah and you look under the law. Now, I'm not going to say, because I know there's people on here who like to practice Torah, they believe in that, and they're like, no, God was never, of course, God's not for that. I'm talking about a manipulation and a twisting of the word and of scripture, which does happen. So the way that they look at it is that it's at the equivalent of adultery. That's how they look at child SA, that it's the equivalent of cheating on your wife or your husband, okay? Which is totally not even close, right? You're talking about a child here. But anyway, why I say all this is because there have been examples, and I'm not going to show you exactly the person. I mean, you guys can look this up. I don't want to speak about specific people, but there have been cover-ups. And I will give you an example of one who was well known, who had passed away, but there are other examples of this that you can look at. Now, like I said, it's usually not reported to the police. A lot of them feel that when you report a Jew to a non-Jewish authority, that it's actually a religious crime. Okay. So they look at this in a very negative light. And so a lot of times these things won't actually get reported. Now, I say all this, here's an example. I want to tell you about an example of somebody who this happened with. This was an ultra-Orthodox rabbi. It says, claim they're cooperating with authorities over child SA, but victims say they are being persecuted and that the DA is doing little to help. So here's an example. 2 years ago, Brooklyn Rabbi Baruch Leibovitz was sentenced to jail for his repeated abuse of a 16-year-old. Now, if you read more about the story of the 16-year-old that was being, molested, it was actually discovered, it says that he was a mentally disabled child and he was being molested. And they reported the crime to the police, and he was out, and then he was out within like 80 something days. And then when this gentleman died, although it had been proven that he was doing it, he apologized, he did the whole thing, they still had hundreds of people show up for this man's funeral. Like, the way that the community dealt with it is definitely not synonymous with what you would expect or what you would do, thinking about the outside world, right? So understanding, this is an example you can read. I believe that 16-year-old went on to unalive himself later on as well. So these are all things, when he got married, these are all things that you have to consider, and it is happening. And if you close your eyes to that for false anti-Semitism, then you are doing a disservice to these people, and you're doing a disservice and an injustice in the eyes of God. So I am not for blind allegiance to people that are doing wrong things. Okay. And I don't believe God is either. Now, I do believe that a lot of this, again, is very much connected to other things that we're seeing happening in the news. So this was, I believe they tried to kind of, hush this, but there was another batch of Epstein files that were released all around the same time as these things going on. As this tunnel happening, maybe you saw that there was an airplane, all of a sudden the side panel, the door just ripped off mid-flight. All of these things started coming at once, all these news stories. And we have to understand that the mainstream media is very much designed to push narrative to divide the country, but to also divide the populace, but also to bring forward certain stories or events or things that are going to shape the general way that people view things. That's why I say, if you can shut off the mainstream news, do it, and just ask God what is the truth about it, because they're going to show you partial truths, but they're going to spin what they want you to understand or believe about it. So that's where the critical thinking needs to really come in. But all of this also happened as well. I don't have to get into Epstein and Maxwell. You know them already. You know what they're responsible for. But there have been more names who had come out who had been associated with this, all at the same time as all these other things that were being pushed and happening. And as I said, I believe, and I'm going to make a connection here for a moment with you all, that yes, I think a lot of this can be very much connected to moving children, right? Moving them from one place to another. They actually found other tunnels that were coming out of DC. I mean, if you just do the research, okay, you will find it. Things can be found if you just look. But I strongly believe this is very much connected with that. And New York City is one of the number one when it comes to underground tunnels and things of that nature. But it's not just in the States. It's not just in heavily populated cities or anything like that as well. They also have found huge tunnels in South America. Now, I believe it was Timothy Alberino who covered this years ago. They talked about this, but that they believe that this is connected with the giants. Okay, so we're going to get into a little bit of that. Now, I know I might lose some of you at this point, but those of you who know, you know. And if you want to know more, keep watching the channel. But it is believed as well that there are even underground cities, that there are, operations that are happening beneath our feet that we don't even realize. And there are scriptures in the Bible that talk about things that are happening below the ground and below the earth. So again, all things that you can look up, but it very much, I do believe, exists. So you can see deep inside Brazil, there are tunnels large enough for a person to walk through. They are nearly symmetrical, too neat to have been caused by any known geological process. So understanding, and they're lined with claw marks. So there you go. That's interesting. Now they're claiming that this was created by giant sloths that made these. I'm sorry, that's so funny. Can you imagine a giant sloth with his sloth fingers just trying to pull through? That's hysterical. But anyway, So a lot of us, in this community believe that these could have been created by giants for giants, to hide them, to house them, especially during the flood, to have gone underground. There's a lot of different things, a lot of different theories, but I just thought that was funny. But anyway, so these tunnels exist. They found them. You can even see, I like to look at popular culture. I like to look at videos and things that are online, or that are in, those little Easter eggs that they throw in shows that we watch to kind of prime us. And if you are familiar with Futurama, Futurama talks about this all the time. There was an underground NYC, that there's the above ground one, there's an underground one. So they actually show these ideas of underground cities and tunnels that are leading to it. Okay. Now, I found this page, and now I believe God again connects me with certain things to see certain things, to understand them a little more. Now, this is called Unified TV. Now, this I do not endorse them. They are 100% New Age. They talk about multidimensional selves and all this other stuff, and healing yourself through, manifesting and all this other stuff. However, okay, I can expose this. I'm not here to expose this. The reason why I know God led me to this was because there was an interview here called Disclosure. Now, whatever you think about it, is whatever you think. And I want to just say that, even before getting into this, if you do decide to go watch it, have your blinder, not your blinders, not the right word, have your guard up, meaning that is 100% New Age. Okay. But if you are very well versed in understanding the difference between the Bible and New Age, it might be interesting to listen to, because they reveal some things that are true. And then you can also see the deception that they're under when it comes to what they believe is their job in the world, to bring light, to raise the vibrations, all this stuff, right, that we know is New Age based. However, in this interview, the Disclosure, they talk specifically about children and tunnels and the child as trafficking and all the other things that are going on. They talk specifically about it in this Disclosure video. And I believe it's part 2. Yeah, so it says Antarctica, the tunnels, and the children. So check it out if you just want to know a little bit more about that piece and what they're claiming happened. Now, they do start to get into some other things that I'm like, yeah, no, this is total garbage. Like, throw this out. This is not accurate. But it might be interesting, if you feel that you are strong in the word, strong in your discernment, it might be interesting to listen to, just to get a little more information. But they do talk about this. Okay. Now, I wanted to jump over to this again. Here's another video. Now, this was from NBC. There you go, Chabad Lubavitch World Headquarters. So that should tell you something. So the World HQ. Now, again, the way that they explain this is that there's nothing wrong, like, nothing to worry about. And of course, this is NBC, but you can read what it's saying there, that there was a 60-foot tunnel right underneath the headquarters, shut down and filled with cement. Now, I want to say something. Even though they only found 60-foot tunnel, that doesn't mean that there weren't other tunnels connected to it. They actually found one that, although it was connected, they showed that some of the walls, like especially the old bootlegger ones, you could push, and it's an actual brick wall, but you have to really push it hard, and then it would lead to another passage. So, these things can go really, really in depth. But anyway, so they're just reporting this here, and they're talking about the 770 Eastern Parkway and all these things. And they start talking about the guy that I told you about, Schneerson, and how some people believe that he was the Messiah, and that he died in 1994. Okay, and they showed you some of the things that they started to discover. But why are they so protective of it is really the question. And why do they go to this length of destroying their synagogue in order to protect it from being filled? Okay, is really what we need to ask ourselves, as well as all the mattresses, which they went right away and they started filling it in. They didn't even do any kind of investigation, which should also make you scratch your head. Right there they are, sitting there inside of the tunnel. Again, you can watch these things for yourself, but I've noticed that they've taken out the detail about the mattresses and the high chair in a lot of these. So that is something that you need to ask yourself. Okay, now again, going to Chabad, what does Chabad mean in English? Now, I need you to understand again that this is not just, some Jewish group, like that they are very much connected with Kabbalah, which is witchcraft. Chabad Hasidism is a system of religious philosophy that teaches understanding and recognition of the Creator through the application of 3 intellectual qualities of Chokhmah, I think it's how you say Chokhmah, wisdom, Binah, which is understanding, and Dat, which is knowledge. And the initials of these three Hebrew words form the word Chabad. So you have to understand when I show you that image, okay, if I go back and I show you, this is the Kabbalah tree of life. If you ever look at this, this is what they believe. Okay, again, all of this is going back to witchcraft. So maybe you've seen this before, right? And this is all with those points that they believe, and everything that is connected with it. Okay, this is what they teach. This is what they believe. Again, here's man and all the pieces of it. And this is straight up mysticism and witchcraft. I'm not going to get into all of that today. You might notice some of these look really familiar as well when you look at the images. Okay, again, going to the hand, palm reading. I mean, all of this very, very much connected. You know, they believe the stories with Lilith and all these other demons and these other things. Okay, not going to get into that today. Now, you can go online to learn more about them, chabad.org, and this is their Kabbalah online. So you can learn a little bit more information, like they'll tell you what is it, what's the history. They believe it has to do with all these other things, but you can just do some more research on it. But again, I wanted to show you that this group is connected with that. And why do we need to, we need to test the fruit of these things, not just to sound crazy and whatever, but also what is going on. So you might be surprised to know that one of the number one people, Madonna, she says she follows Kabbalah, and she is very influential, of course, in Hollywood and amongst celebrities. And you can see it says in the 90s, Madonna single-handedly started the trend of wearing red string bracelets among celebrities. You see other people like Demi Moore, Ashton Kutcher, Britney Spears did it after. Now, I did read Britney Spears's book because, again, I'm always looking for information, things that I can see to put together to know what's going on. And she talked about how she did have a connection with Madonna. Madonna did talk to her about Kabbalah and spirituality and all this stuff. Now, we know of all people, okay, Madonna, especially, that she follows Kabbalah. What does that tell you? Okay, what does the fruit tell you about that? I do have a photo of her somewhere I'm going to come to in a moment. But we don't have to even go too deep for us to understand that. Okay. Now, let me see. Maybe I can. Oh, it won't let me. Let me see if I can find that photo for you. It is somewhere. Oh, maybe that's the one it made me X out. Oh, look at that. The one that I was going to show you. So anyway, you know what? Let me I'll Google this for you right now. Let's do this like now while I'm recording right now live. So if you look up Madonna, she did a photo. She did this thing of like the Last Supper. Oh, that is the one that they told me I can't view. Okay, so here you go. So this person that you see here in this image, okay, which is clear blasphemy, clear mocking of the Lord in the Last Supper, where they're all, like kind of have these lustful sort of looks. They're all clearly living, there's like gluttony, it's just chaos, it's gross. Okay, this is what she does. And this person follows Kabbalah. So you should tell you something about who she is, what she believes, and what she does. Okay, this is not of God at all. At all. All right. I mean, I don't think I need to show you more for you to know this about Madonna. Okay, and who she apparently thinks she is, which I guess she must think she's the Lord. But anyway, this is a straight up blasphemy and mocking, and I don't even want to look at it anymore. So I'm going to click off of there. So she practices that. Okay, so that should tell you something. Now, I want to bring this up as well, and I'm going to get into the aliens thing in a bit, but I want to bring this up as well. So this came out recently, Lil Nas X J Christ. Now, if you know anything about him, he straight up just doesn't care. Like he is being used 100% by the enemy. And it's just straight up mockery, straight up blasphemy of, the things that he does and that he says. And it's a joke to him. Now, I'm not going to show you all of the video, all of the scenes, because they're just so grotesque that I don't want to do that to you. Whatever you want to do in your own free will and your own free admonition is totally up to you. I can't stop you on that, but I do want to show you just what this video is about, because it just goes to show you that we are getting so close, guys. We are in those last days. We truly are. And the Lord is coming back soon. the Lord truly is going to return soon, and he's looking for a people that are going to worship him and to honor him, and to those of you who are been called to bring forward the truth. Now, I want to show you just a couple pieces of this. Okay, so when he first starts out, now I have to ask yourself, why do they do this? Okay, it's a mockery. You don't see this with any other religion, any other belief system, but it's only against Jesus. You got to ask yourself why. So when they starts out, you see that they're walking and they're going into the stairway of heaven. All right, so and you see them all dressed in white. I mean, this is a clear thing for the saints. Now, what you can see right away is look at some of these celebrities. You can see right away what he's telling you, and this is what I believe. Again, I can't say what is the truth of a state of a man's soul. I can only say what I see. And there's some people here that very clearly, okay, I believe he's calling out as being false prophets, false, believers, that these are not actual Christians, that why else would they appear in the video? And right here, you see Ed Sheeran before he went, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and he's dressing the way that he's dressing and doing the things that he's doing. You have Ed Sheeran. This is clearly Taylor Swift. This is clearly Dolly Parton. This is clearly Obama. This is Oprah. And over here, you have, I believe that's Kanye. So, just to show you people who have proclaimed to some degree of being Christians, or maybe have stated at some point in their life that they were. I mean, you're seeing it says, deliver me. Oh, there was Mariah Carey there. Okay, this is supposed to obviously be Kanye. This is obviously Oprah. I mean, all of these false leaders, all these false prophets, all these false people that are going to lead you straight to the pit of hell, and then it says, oh, they're following the Lil Nas X Christ. Okay, so calling himself Christ. And then I don't even want to, anyway, here you go, the gates of heaven that are opening. I don't even want to get into this next part because he just looks, you could probably see it down there. He's wearing a thing that says sexy. He's got this halo on him. He looks just straight up demonic, holding the rosary, got his nails on. I mean, it's disgusting. And then anyway, he gets to this point and then he's dropped down into the pit of hell. And here he goes again. Now he's actually dressed like he's a demon, and he's got this is, oh, I could just throw up, guys. I'm sorry. Cannibalism. Here you go. So here's an example of, I can't I'm sorry. I can't even, I need to click out of this. This is like hurting me right now. Just, okay. Anyway, so they made it like it's a big basketball game between the good and the evil. This reminds me a lot of Rome. And then he's doing the cheerleader dance, and then just straight up mocking our Lord, just straight up mocking the Lord. Like this is just overwhelming that this is mainstream and that people don't care. Like people genuinely think that he's just doing this to get a reaction. Here you have that he's literally, shearing the sheep. Who are the sheep? Like, guys, this is just straight up blasphemy. This is just disgusting. It's gross. It's just gross. Yeah. Yeah. Making fun again of Noah and the ark, right? Because that time will come, as in the days of Noah, so will it be at the coming of the Son of Man. And so you see Noah and the ark and all the animals, and then you see this flood coming upon the earth. Lord help me, for we are at war. And he's dancing. Yeah. And then at the end, it says day 0, a new beginning. And he puts a scripture, 2 Corinthians 5:17. I don't even know what to say about it anymore. Yeah, I'm gonna move on because I just that hurt my spirit. Okay. The next is the Book of Clarence. And now the Book of Clarence, again, and I'm only bringing these things up for you guys again because I want you to see kind of the state and the level that we're in when it comes to the mockery of our Lord Jesus. And, to show you that, God said these things were going to happen. We were going to see increase in these things. And anyway, this one is the Book of Clarence. It was produced by Jay-Z, and he talks about, basically that he wants to be like Jesus. He sees Jesus going around performing these miracles and about how they have all this money, and he thinks it's just like a get rich quick scheme and scam. And so he goes with his friend and he does these lies and he pretends to perform miracles, and it's a big joke. And you're seeing all this crime, and they just go through and he's literally just mocking and blaspheming the Lord. How far would you go? You're not a nobody, like trying to make a name for himself. And it's called the Book of Clarence. You've heard the creative directors talk about how they believe that this is very much just that you're a god, and they believe in all of that. And so this is just a big joke to them, right? It's just a big joke to them. But I say this, if you're watching this for the first time, you're still watching this and you still don't believe that there's a reason why it's always God, it's always Jesus that is mocked. Ask yourself that question. Why are they not making movies about Muhammad? Why are they not making movies about Buddha? Like, why are those things okay? It's because they're false gods. You have to understand that. And there's a very real war that is taking place right now for your soul. And so we have to understand also that this is biblical. You know, 2 Thessalonians 2:11-12 talks about a great deception that's going to come upon the earth. And so a lot of what you're seeing here is going to be very much connected with what we're seeing as an increase in all of these stories about aliens and all this other stuff, right? It says, and for this reason, God will send them strong delusion that they should believe the lie, that they all may be condemned who did not believe the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness. Now, understand something, that this strong delusion is for the end times. It's what people are going to believe that is not the truth, okay? It's because they did not have the love of the truth. Now, I believe that this is very much connected with this deception around aliens. More Americans now believe in aliens. Share of US adults that hold the following opinions on whether or not aliens exist. 57% believe they probably or they definitely do. Okay, more people, I honestly think, believe in aliens than they do in, in God. And those of the lukewarm church that are sort of believing, but not really, a lot of them are also falling into a lot of new age practices and beliefs. And I do believe this is where God has positioned me to speak out about those things because, I had been rescued out of that. God showed me a lot of things that are not true and about this deception and the things that are coming. And we're seeing an increase now when it comes to aliens and all this other stuff. We're seeing an increase now. And, you have to understand that these are not, they're going to say that they're your creators. They're going to say that they're here to help bring us to the next level, the next age. And that there are actual groups like that thing I showed you on Unified that they actually believe, they call themselves TLS, or the light system, that they are workers to help bring this mission forward. And so all of this is about purpose, but it's all a straight up lie from the enemy. You think you're doing the right thing, you're actually working for the enemy. And these are things that, again, I fell into. This is about astral projections, about all this stuff is straight up witchcraft, is unauthorized, going into the spiritual world, not accordingly to how Christ has called us to act and to be and to do. And so it's very interesting. It says, if we encounter aliens, it's very or somewhat likely they'll be more technologically advanced than humans. 66% said that they believe that. 35 believes they would be hostile towards humans. And 42% believe we're going to make contact in the next 200 years. Okay. And this was back in 2002 out of 1,000 US adults they surveyed. So that should tell you something as to the state of where people are going when it comes to the belief. And as society moves forward and we're seeing it's going further and further away from God, from the biblical principles and morals, right? It says the love of many will grow cold. We're seeing it as an increase. And we know that Jesus is going to return and he's coming soon. And if we know that, then we have to know what is the deception. And there's a lot of Christians who don't talk about these things because they're kind of like fringe topics for them. But we need to know about it because the Bible actually addresses it. Right now, look, this thing on Forbes 2024 is shaping up to be the year of tall aliens. Like everything's about aliens. We saw this thing with the Miami mall visit that people were saying, oh, I saw these really tall aliens, these shadow aliens or whatever they were. And there was a big riot that broke out, or not riot, big thing of chaos. And there was all these there were like all these police cars and everything. They're saying, oh yeah, it was just a bunch of teenagers fighting. Like, no, it wasn't. Please stop. Whatever it was, whether this was a false flag event or not, It's drawing your attention to think about it. We've been seeing it more and more and more and more in the mainstream. All you've seen is more people talking about aliens and all these things in the mainstream as well, right? We're seeing it on, what was that? CBS. Okay, here it is on CNN. You know, we're seeing it everywhere. And this is a different one. This is about it says the office received approximately 800 reports of unidentified objects to investigate as this past April, reports in August 2022. So we're seeing, and they're saying, oh, it's weather balloons, it's this, it's that. But you have to understand, when you see something of messages repeated over and over, and now that it's in the mainstream news, you have to ask yourself, what is the agenda? Why do that? What do they want you to believe or think about it? And so a lot of this, again, is very much connected to things that are going to take place. This happened August 31st of last year. You know, that woman, it went viral. She freaked out in the plane. She's like, that person's not real. Get me off of this plane. You know, she saw like a shapeshifter. It was a whole thing. Okay. And, you know, we're seeing it all over. Washington Post talks about David Grusch. Okay, this guy was literally took a visit to Capitol Hill, and he was talking directly with the government, saying that they're handling this extraterrestrial technology. I don't have time to get into all of this today. When it comes to technology, when it comes to things with the Book of Enoch, I know some of you are like so anti-Book of Enoch, but guys, it talks about how it's directed to a last generation. It's not for everybody. You have to understand that there's certain wisdom and knowledge that God gives that is for a certain group of people that are in this earth during a certain period of time. Like, it's no accident or mistake that you're coming upon these things. It's no accident or mistake that you're learning of these things and you're growing of these things. Because of what you're called to do here in these end times. So again, you're going to see this idea. This is a movie that came out. It's called The Creator. They want you to see these things as alien intellectual beings that are our creators, right? God is not the creator for them. It is these alien beings from these other star sets that are going to help us in our evolution. This is the narrative. This is the lie. And you're seeing it right here. Okay, this looks like a UFO, some kind of spaceship, and these look like AI type beings. Okay, so this is, we're going to start to see the blend of this, the coming together of these things. And the Bible talks about that in Daniel as well. I only have so much time in one video. So the destruction of Jerusalem and the coming of the Son of Man, it talks about that there will be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars, and on the earth, distress of nations with perplexity. Okay, there's going to be a lot of confusion. The sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear of the expectations of those of things which are coming to the earth, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. You know, Jesus is going to return at the moment when things, that you're going to see the chaos. You're going to see a lot of things that are going on. And he says, when these things start to happen, look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption draws near. So when we see this chaos, we see these things going on in the world, we're not meant to be afraid. We know that Christ is going to return soon. Now, some people have different opinions as to when, or, you know, if the whole UFO thing is going, or the alien encounter invasion, if it's going to be one of two things, either to mimic or mock the rapture, and the people are going to get zapped out of here, and the rapture is going to happen, and then they're going to blame it on alien attack and deceive the masses. That's what some people believe, you know, if you get left behind, that whole thing. Other people believe it'll just be a fake false flag event, Project Bluebeam. They're going to mimic this thing. It's going to happen. And then people are going to believe that they got left behind, and they're going to overthrow their faith. Although that we were always going to be here. So there's different opinions about it. Wherever you fall, let the Lord give you clarity on what is the truth. And you need to really be connected with God in these hours of what is coming and what it's, you know, how to discern, and all these things are going to be so important. And to know that it is all deception. It is all deception. Okay. There is one creator, there's one God. And he revealed himself through Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was God. He was a reflection of that. He said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. So you know, you have to also understand that Jesus he came, right? Our Messiah, our anointed one, he came already. He paid the price and the penalty for sin, so we don't have to. So we can be in relationship, perfect relationship with God, with our creator. We can be in that relationship, restored again, and then we are, yes, a new creation in Christ. And so, times are coming, troubled times are coming. What you saw with C19 was nothing. That was a dress rehearsal for a fraction of what we can expect. So we need to really be close to the Lord. We need to think about how we're handling the resources in our life as well to walk into the purpose. Time is short. So what are you doing, in these hours to move forward in your calling? I love you guys. Thank you for being a part of this channel. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you're interested in learning more about how we can maybe develop a community where we can chat and share articles and talk about these things that are going on, because it's very hard to do so. I'm willing to do that. I just need to work out on a little bit more on the financial piece and how to actually make it happen. If this ministry has blessed you in any way and, you feel called to sow or to give, let me know in the comments. These are things that I'm considering to set up because I do want to be able to serve you guys well. I want to be able to do the research. It does take time to put this together and to do it, but I know it's necessary and it's needed. So yeah, let's keep going. Let's fight the good fight together. Go forth and love, peace, boldness, and perseverance to preach the message of the gospel. Do not give up in these tough times. The Lord will return soon, but we know that chaos is going to come before then. And I wanted to share really quickly before we just ended is that, the Lord woke me up in the middle of the night the other night, and he showed me that there's chaos that is coming to this earth. We are going to see chaotic times. And it's great chaos. And that is being caused and brought forward by those that are, the powers that be. And so we need to really stay connected with the Lord. We need to really know what's going on because he's going to be our truth and our light in the midst of that chaos. So thank you so much for watching. Support the video, share it, comment, give it a thumbs up, but your shares really help. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.